just so you guys, like, I'm a Christian, so like I have a viewpoint that comes from a biblical aspect, but I tend to piss a lot of Christians off because of how I view the world and how I think that it's so much bigger. Because one of the things that the Bible does for me is it teaches me how I need to treat other people.
Sure.
But one of the things that's not specific about is a lot of the things that have happened in history and how old the earth actually is. I know a lot of the conventional Christians was like the earth's only 6,000 years old.
That's
it's not
craziness.
possible.
No.
But I can tell you just from the first 2 books in the Bible will tell you that that's not the case though. So like Genesis 1:1 says God created the heavens and the earth, but Genesis 1:2 says the earth was without form and void. Well, that doesn't make any sense because if God created something to be perfect, right? Why is it without form and void here? That's called gap theory. There's like a billions and billions of years in between there because the earth was destroyed. When the deluge happened, when Noah got on the ark, God told him that he would never destroy the earth by water again. Again is the key word there. It didn't mean that he hadn't done it before, or there were things that happened before, like Atlantis didn't exist before. Right. People talk about Adam being the first man. Well, Adam was like the first created in God's image. That had nothing to do with what was before all that, though. There was all kind of things going on before that, though. I believe there was angel civilizations that were going on all over the planets at that time, though. I think there were angel wars going on at that time. I think it was a different time period, right? Even after Adam came along, and when you start getting into the very first secret society, the Brotherhood of the Snake, and you talk about Cain's bloodline and the Nephilim that came out of that bloodline, when you start getting into that stuff, the fallen angels were very, very intricate in their design and how they did it. I don't think that the alien theories are far off from what the fallen angel theories are. I think they kind of mesh together, and I think maybe people view them in different ways when maybe they're kind of the same thing. And I think that's where I get that whole analogy from, right?
Yeah.
You start talking about like the Anunnaki and you start getting into those theories too. I think it's flawed in some ways because I think, here's the thing about Sumerian knowledge. Sumerian knowledge is supposed to be like the precipice, right? The first stuff that we've ever found and everything else borrowed from it. That's why when people say like, well, the Bible's flawed because it borrowed from Sumerian culture. The issue with that is, though, when you're talking about Judaism and what came down from Adam's bloodline into Seth's bloodline, everything was oral history. They passed it on orally for years, though. So nothing came into written scripture until Moses came to it.
Okay.
So really, when you think about Sumerian, they just really came from their point of view about what was going on. If you think about fallen angels, or hell, man, in Psalm 82:1, it says Elohim judged the Elohim. You know what that means? It means that God judged the gods. So literally the Bible says there's other gods. It wasn't just like there was just...
It's the stories of the Demi-Gods.
Correct. You've got all this stuff.
Jupiter,
these are these fallen angels. These are these ones that left, that created these civilizations and helped manufacture a lot of the stuff going on that's happened. Why do you think we've seen so many fast advancements throughout time? It's because these fallen angels with their technology got integrated in with people and made it happen. I mean, look at Roswell, man. Like, we had such a huge spike of technology after that incident that's verifiable. You know, around that time,
the atomic bomb testing.
That too. You talk about during that like 1940s to 1950s part, you're talking about what was going on there too. You had the Nazis and everything else going on. So there was a ton of technology coming out of there too.
Well, the Bell.
Yeah.
Nazi
right.
Bell.
And man, how many stories have we heard about, aliens being in contact with the Nazis and creating stuff with the Nazis too, them trying to get to Antarctica, all that stuff.
Society.
Correct.
I still think they got to Antarctica.
Well, I mean,
absolutely
successfully down there.
The part of the SS that was kind of like the occult aspect, they were going to Nepal. They were going on trips all over the world looking for artifacts. I mean,
absolutely.
Indiana Jones, covers it in a Hollywood way, but they really were doing that. And they were looking for this superhuman race that was living in the Himalayan mountains, way up in the mountains of Tibet, visiting these monasteries, going down into these caves, and a lot of that stuff stems from Madame Blavatsky. And we've talked about Charles Ledbetter and our friend VJ. In southern India, where he's from, speaks Tamil, which is the oldest language in the world, the oldest spoken language. Yeah, that and Sanskrit, and they have one of the earliest brotherhood organizations. Madame Blavatsky lived in India for many, many years,
Right.
studying. A lot of her works came out of that.
But you look at what she did with the Theosophists, man, and how
Yeah.
she bled it. Do you know that it bled all the way into the UN? So what they run at the UN came from her. They have this whole occult angle with the UN that came all the way from her teachings. So it's really wild when you think about it. That do you know that? And this is wild too. Lucifer printing was what bled out of the Theosophist, and it actually is what became the UN's form of propaganda that they push out now. This is verifiable in Wikipedia at that. This is not something you have to dig that hard
Really?
to find. Yes. So it's really wild, though, when you think about this whole, like, why is it always this Lucifer thing? Why is it always this Luciferian
Angels,
angle
the
that
fallen angel.
Correct. And that's my take on it. And I think that these religions, I think all these gods existed. I think people saw them. I think they connected with them. I think they created life with them. I think that's part of that what a lot of the ancient alien guys think, the DNA splicing, all that. You got to understand something. If you got a guy that like created everything, right? They watched him do it, right? They're not going to be able to do it. Yeah, like he does it.
Right.
They're gonna mimic it as best they can. They're gonna create shit. That's just what they do.
Right.
They're going to try to copy what they can, because they ultimately, their goal is to win. They know they're not going to, but that's their goal, and they want to take as many of us out with them. So it's part of it. And here's the weird thing. As much as me being a Christian, though, I hate the church, man. I hate how it's been infiltrated and how they just suck people's dollars away. You know, I just listened to the Pope the other day say that you can't connect with God without us. Literally says this on like stage.
They're
This
the
was just the other
medium
day.
for your connection.
We are the medium. He
Yeah.
said it was harmful to think otherwise.
So when my wife and
Well,
I got
that's they
married,
used to pay people for prayers.
Right.
It was pay for play.
yeah.
Right.
When we
You
got
know,
married, my mom really
earliest
wanted us to
rackets.
have a Catholic wedding.
Yeah.
And I was like, we're not gonna. And finally, I was like, okay, fine. You know, we'll have a Catholic priest do the wedding. She said, but you're getting married outside. And I said, God can't see me outside.
Yeah.
We don't need a Catholic priest.
Well, and that's so true, though.
I was mind blown.
Yeah, it really is like but the church was infiltrated a long time ago. Really at the Roman Catholic, that was when it really kicked off.
Way long time
And
ago.
what they did was they had a really smart, and these Luciferians had a really masterful plan. They infiltrate the church, right? They take all the supernatural out of it. That aspect of getting to God, all
Right.
the weird stuff, the
Well,
Nephilim.
that's the missing years of Jesus. too.
Correct. Then on the flip side, they make it super attractive to want to be a part of the occult, because now you can get in contact with these entities. You can see these powers, these things that really God never wanted us to be away from in the first place, but they've separated both ends of it to make you to get
Dark
access
and
to
evil.
it. You need to go to this dark side.
Yep.
But if you go over here, you're just giving us your money and we're still, siphoning off
Right.
your energy.
Right. But I like
Create
that.
this light and dark
like-
dichotomy.
I like what you're saying though too, and I say it, and I know it probably offends people, but I'm like, the Pope's just a guy.
He literally is. That's it.
Just a guy. I could be the Pope. Anybody could be the Pope. Literally anybody could be the Pope. I'm not joking. If you want to go do it, I guarantee you can figure out how to do
Become a
it.
priest and work
Go
your
be
way
the
up.
Pope.
And
Better link up with them Jesuits.
Yeah, I was gonna say he's the first Jesuit.
First Jesuit.
But what I'm
First
saying,
Jesuit,
he's
the-
not
the Black
He
Pope.
didn't jump down off a cloud. He wasn't sent down here by a lightning bolt.
Absolutely.
He changed his coat one day, and now he's the Pope, and he wears the hat, and he's the Pope. And great.
yeah, we grew up Catholic.
Yeah, and they're just, and the thing about the Pope is too, I mean, he's just a puppet. I mean, if you really look at it, you've got the
Right.
Black Pope and the Gray Pope. You've got,
The Black nobility.
Arturo Sosa, all
I don't
those
even
guys.
know, but what is all this? I don't know if we have enough time for all those. How many avenues of popes are there?
So you've got really three different popes. You've got your white pope, the one that you always see, he's the
Okay.
figurehead, right? But he's the first Jesuit, which is really crazy because
Yeah.
the Jesuit order is really the one that does all this weird stuff, right? They're the ones that run like the Lucifer telescope out in Arizona. They're doing all that stuff. So you got the Jesuits they're kind of like that, like dark side of the Catholic Church, the ones that are running
They've
around
always been
doing
the esoteric
they're
side
the
of
they're the movers and shakers, right? So Arturo Sosa, he's the one that runs, and they call him the Black Pope. He's like the head of the Jesuit order, but he's he is a pope as well. But then you've got what they call the gray pope, which is Pepe Orsini, and the Orsini family. If you know anything about the Orsinis, they have literally had like 5 popes come out of them. I think it's like 30 something cardinals that have come out of their family. They're one of those
banking families, basically.
Yes, they're one of those elite bloodlines that you don't really hear a lot about. They're the ones. I always say
the ones you never hear about.
Right.
The actual elite bloodlines.
Not the Rothschilds. It's those guys.
And you don't know their name.
They're like the JV team.
Yeah.
The Rothschilds and the Rockefellers, I do consider elites, but what they were created to do, they were created to be the front men to take the heat.
Yeah.
So they're part of that group, but they're like, look, you guys are just going to be there to be the figureheads to take the heat so people can have somebody to point fingers to. The other ones, you'll never know their names. They don't have social security numbers. The world is their country.
All those
like
folks.
they don't. There's no such thing as country lines with these people. Like this is their playground. This is what they do. They're part of these elite bloodlines that I believe come from the Nephilim bloodlines. Because why else would you think you're better than everyone else? I know everybody else would say they're reptilians or whatever. Like I do think reptilians exist. I don't think they're part of the bloodlines though. I think personally that the elite bloodlines come from the Nephilim bloodlines. Because how else would you think you're better than everyone else if you literally had the blood of the gods in you? Even if it's a diluted bloodline, it's still the blood of the gods. So you would look at everyone else as peons, not because you have more power, not because you have more money. It's because your blood is literally has the blood of the gods in it. These fallen angels, these Nephilim like bloodlines. And I think that's why they feel that way. And I think that's why they move that way.
That's why Hitler was obsessed with the occult and trying to figure all that out.
Hey,
it was all part of that.
There's a whole rabbit hole with him that he's actually a Rothschild that he was actually
for sure. He was the maid, the mother of the maid of Baron von Rothschild. Just like cleaning house in the morning.